please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda. I don't have any. You have any? I do have one.
Tim's resignation.
Oh, I do have one. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that one. So go ahead.
I'd like to add a discussion of the giving tree,
Okay.
please.
All right. I'll second that. Moved and seconded because nobody else is paying attention. Sandy's not here to second stuff for you, so you're going to have to wake them up
I
tonight.
was taking notes.
All those in favor of adding the giving tree to the agenda under new business, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to put that under new business,
Yes, sir.
giving tree.
Recuse, I guess. Oh, it's my
Yeah.
program.
And I guess we'll do this under department and committees. Tim Franklin has given us his resignation from the Solid Waste Committee. So I make a motion that we add that to department and committee reports to accept that resignation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add Solid Waste Committee to the department and committee reports. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, we move on. Chair's remarks, I have none. Guests, we have plenty. Open public comments, non-agenda items only. Seeing none. Department and committee reports. So, as I mentioned in the opening, Tim Franklin has given us his resignation to the Wyndham Solid Waste Committee. We do have an alternate, and Emily Vergobi. So we've asked her to step in Tim's absence until we find someone to replace Tim. So we need to make a motion to accept Tim Franklin's resignation.
So moved.
She wins.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept Tim Franklin's resignation from the Wyndham Solid Waste Committee with regrets. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Tim, for all the work that you've done over the years in that committee. Approval of meeting minutes, regular meeting October 16th.
I have correction on October 16th, page 2,
Okay.
the third bold section, the vote, the one was a recusal. It wasn't a no, it was a recusal.
That's also in there twice, if that matters. It's on the front page twice,
there.
or as well.
That was in
Just
addition
as
to the agenda.
add. And then that was,
Okay.
the other one was permission to do it,
All right.
so
Yep.
it was 4-1 and one was the recusal. And I think that's all I saw.
Yep. Okay. So,
I move we accept the minutes of October 16th as corrected.
Second.
moved and seconded to accept the regular meeting minutes from October 16th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, budget meeting minutes from October 17th.
I do have one thing also.
Mhm.
Under the library, and it says a gift fund was established for emergencies and has been used for shortfalls. It wasn't really established for emergencies, it just was established for library use. It's not really designated just as an emergency fund. So we just need to strike out for emergencies.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone?
I move that we approve the budget meeting minutes for October 17th as corrected.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the budget meeting minutes from October 17th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Bills and warrants.
All right, I move that we authorize payment of the following warrants. 9T, accounts payable, $49,770.45. 42S payroll, $7,469.94. 43S payroll, $8,657.29. And 44S payroll, $7,566.98.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Mary Lynn and Dave, come on up. Select board, in your packets, you have some pictures of Mary Lynn's driveway at 361 Huckle Hill Road. She was, after the paving, she was having some problems with washout in her driveway. So our highway crew put in a diversion to keep that from happening, but I don't believe it did the job. It's still, your driveway is still washing out, and now you have what you feel is a speed bump that So, do you have anything to add to what I said, Mary Lynn?
Well, if you look at the road itself, the center of the, Huckle Hill's been built up about 6 inches over the different times of paving. But if you look at the center of the road, from about Dick's Flat down past my house, it's, the center of the road is higher. So the road goes like this.
As it
So-
should.
Well, it wasn't, it didn't my driveway didn't wash out before.
Okay.
So, but because when you get built up, and I get that, but it really is noticeably different in that whole area.
Okay.
So, and my driveway wasn't washing out before.
So prior to paving,
This
this
last time.
paving, you hadn't had the issue.
Right.
Okay.
It's gotta be in the heavy downpours. Well, I went over there today in the normal rain. It's not developed, I'll pass it around.
And I have mine, I did it on video too, but it's. And I can't plow my drive with a speed bump at the top.
The water's not even up near, Chris. Up near the berm that's put in there, it's still down in the swale that's been there.
But I can't plow my driveway with that speed bump there.
How high is that, what you guys put in?
Probably 1.5 inches or so. It's not even up to the seam where we added.
See that?
I mean, we only can get some of the water away in that swale. You're not gonna ever get it all.
So it kind of sounds to me that we have two different problems. We have a problem with the driveway washing out, and we have a problem with the actual diversion that was put in. Correct? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and I understand, I get what you're saying, Dave, that it's when heavy rain happens, but the issue is that if this wasn't a problem before, which, you know, you say it wasn't a problem before, and every time we have a heavy rain, are we gonna go over and fix your driveway for?
That's the thing.
And then at the same time, we have to come to a compromise and an agreement of some sort about this speed bump diversion thing, because it kind of looks like from your picture that it's not really doing anything anyway. right?
Just keeping the water from going up and over.
Yeah, because it's not even, it's not even touching in your digital camera picture. The water's not even touching that berm.
But it's
No,
still
it's
going
out
down.
still in the swale.
Yeah. So it's
That's
it's
the
not
thing.
actually functioning to do anything other than to
Well, we didn't,
cause
that
a
was
speed
a
bump.
normal rain today, it wasn't
Yeah.
a real downpour.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yep. But it sounds like in a real downpour we still
Which is-
have this
which is
washout
one of
problem
these-
anyway.
Which is one of these pictures, was in a downpour, and I have that one on video.
Yeah. So in a downpour, this speed bump thing doesn't seem to be working anyway.
When would you take those pictures?
Those?
Yeah. Cause that was put in towards the end of August.
Okay.
18th of September.
So even in some of these really extremely heavy storms that we've had, you never had washout in your driveway?
Before?
Yeah.
Nope.
Do you have any ideas of what to
Yeah.
do?
Because obviously we don't do roads, we don't fix roads, we don't do anything with roads,
Roads.
but roads or
Driveways?
anything.
Oh,
We don't do asphalt. Nobody around this table has
well,
the
swale's
ability
been
or
there
knowledge
since
to fix this,
95.
except for you.
The swale, what does that mean?
What the water's running down in, the pay swale. There is a pay swale there to try to.
Oh, like
Right. Keep
the
it-
lower area?
Yeah, but
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
never used to have one years ago, there never used to be one there before.
But as you build up the
But it's
road,
road,
you
But
have
why
to
we keep
do
building up the
something.
road?
It was added in 95.
Yeah, but why do we keep
Just
building
keep-
up the road?
Well, if you
Everybody
need to
happy
pave it,
and not
it's gotta
washing
go
out on the
somewhere.
side.
Yeah. Did we scarify that down, or did we just go over top?
Yep, just
Okay.
more top this time.
Okay.
Next time it will be.
Yep. So what is a solution here? Because obviously the speed bump thing, it doesn't seem to be functioning in heavy rain. It doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot in regular rain because everything's staying in that swale where it should.
Yep.
So it kind of seems like that thing should just go, in my opinion.
You can't plow with it there.
And yeah, there's that issue as well. But then that still leaves us with the overwhelming issue that if this washout continues to happen. Is there a different way to do what we need to do to keep this from happening? Based on your knowledge.
Well, you can't run any water off on other people's property, so we gotta get it down to that culvert.
Yeah.
That's
Yep. Yeah, I
How
understand
far
that.
is the culvert?
just after the mailbox, it goes into the ditch.
The mailbox that you can see in the picture,
Uh,
I have
at
a
the
photo.
at the bottom one.
like
Yep,
that
way
mailbox
down
way
there,
out
yeah.
there,
Yep,
and that's still all your property
way
across
down
there?
there. And it goes into the ditch
Yeah,
and culvert's
yeah,
right
just
out.
And
right
the
out
culvert.
there.
Is that your yard?
Yes, yeah.
Would increasing the swale help at all? I mean, like the trough of it?
Now instead of a speed bump, we're gonna have
Yeah,
a,
then it would be,
Down
just changing the,
it'd
instead
still
of up
be,
and down.
that's the
Well,
only
what are
thing
your
with that.
thoughts?
You don't wanna know.
We're not going to repave the whole road for
Well,
this issue.
obviously not.
I am. I'll tell you that right now. That's just not going to happen. To reduce the crown and and fix whatever we can there. Well, We need to come up with a fix
I don't know how to fix it, but
for
that,
you.
If we pave that apron behind it, so you only got the one,
I guess, but that's gotta go. I don't know about the rest of the washout, but that speed bump's gotta go.
What I mean,
Right,
Dave,
but
you're
what he's
talking
saying
about
is-
increasing this here?
yep, bring
Paves
it
that
up.
whole
Right,
thing
yeah,
to
so
bring it right, so it
the
brings
same
that
level.
that
But you're
level.
still gonna
Yeah.
have the first initial, but it wouldn't be an up and,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know what to do with the rest of my driveway. I mean, it's too late in the year to do anything with it, fix it now.
Why?
Is it, well,
you'd be better off if they could pack it in for winter.
In warm weather? Mhm.
I'm not paying to fix my driveway again. For it to wash away again.
I don't wanna do that either. I wanna get a solution before we fix your driveway and have to keep fixing it and fixing it. So let's do that. If you think that, you know, increasing the size of that apron going out is a potential,
That's what you'd have is the first, you wouldn't have an up and a, but you'd have the,
but it would be more, it would be an incline, it wouldn't be a speed
it'd be
bump.
like it is just on the back, it'd be, it wouldn't be a, right.
Yeah. What do you think, Mary Lou?
Yeah, I mean, first step, I guess.
Let's give it a shot, see what happens in the spring, and before we go dumping a bunch of Sure-Pack on it, make sure that what we did works in the spring, and then throw some Sure-Pack on it if we have the right solution come spring. Yes, yes? Select board?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We will keep you on the agenda in the spring at some point. And I'm sure you will be in touch and let us know how it all works out. All right, request to forgive tax penalty. So we got a request from a resident. Nope. So the portion that she's asking to forgive is the penalty for late filed homestead declaration, which is $77.37. If you look at the tax bill that's attached.
They're saying in this letter that the late fee was waived by the state, or is that? Oh, that the fee was done by the state.
They, right,
Yeah.
with the select board
Yeah.
can waive it, yeah.
Had this question last year for somebody.
We have this question at least once a year, it
Yeah,
seems.
that their filing was late and they wanted us to forgive the penalty, and we did not.
Correct. You are correct.
And part of that was not set precedents,
You are correct on that as well.
just saying.
So, if you would like to make a motion to your thoughts, be happy to listen to it.
I guess I move that we not waive the late fee, because we haven't been waiving the late fees for late filing a homestead tax.
Second.
Moved and seconded to deny the request to forgive tax penalty. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Planning Commission access to select board room.
Now that we have these fancy new keys that apparently you hate, the question has come up, the planning commission does use this room according to town policy. They can't use the room without a select board member present. However, now that they have these keys, if a select board member's not around, Jeff is not the only one on the planning commission from the select board, they were wondering if they could still use the room.
Well, he's still on the Planning Commission.
But if he's not at a meeting, then
They had a meeting here and he wasn't here at the last one. How'd they get in?
I let them in. That's
Oh,
why it's
okay.
on the agenda.
I was actually here also.
So that's why it's on the agenda now.
Okay.
And with these keys, we can track who comes in and out of the phone.
So does anybody on the Planning Commission have one of these things? Or do they just
They
grab them
have-
out of the box?
They grab it out of the box.
Okay.
So their code would be programmed for this room if you allow it.
Yep. Okay.
I can't guarantee he'll be at every meeting,
Right.
so I think we should.
Yeah.
Make a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to allow the
I don't know
Planning
what it
Commission
says.
access to the select board room. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Very good. Glebe land. I get a headache when I hear that update.
Well,
I still
actually-
don't understand.
This is good news, because Carol has completed her inventory of all the glebe lands in the town of Vernon. Thankfully, they have all been turned over, except for one.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet I know which one it is.
Imagine that.
So we don't have to worry about the rest of them, they're all done.
Great.
So I have a list of what they were. Most of them are owned by the diocese or the state of Vermont Fish and Game.
Yep. Okay. Very good.
And big thanks to Carol, that was a lot of research that she
Yeah.
went through to dig.
I saw her map spread out across the table. I did not envy that job. Giving tree, Jean.
Yes, we would again like to put the giving tree up in the lobby
Mhm.
for this holiday season. It's the library and our volunteers. Do you know what the giving tree, maybe you don't know what the giving tree is. So we put up a big Christmas tree, artificial, and we have tags on it for people to take to buy gifts for
Yep.
different families, children, whatever.
I make a motion that we allow them to have their giving tree in the lobby.
Second.
Moved and seconded to have the giving tree again this year. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
One recuse.
One recusal. Okay, so it was one agenda item the last time we spoke about this, and this is the appointment, changing our town clerk and our town treasurer to appointed positions. We found out by statute that it has to be two separate articles come town meeting if we so desire. I am going to ask or request that this is a discussion only tonight. We don't make any decisions because our town clerk is not in the room and isn't able to be here. What's that?
And we're down one select board member too.
Yep.
That value her input.
So this will, as I said, will just be a discussion tonight. Obviously, we had some things to consider. Do you guys have any thoughts that pertain to either or articles?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I moved to table this issue for two reasons. I didn't feel that I had enough information to make a good judgment one way or another. And in addition, I felt having a productive conversation was hindered somewhat by some high emotions. This is an important issue that we need to discuss. I feel this time, as I mentioned before, we have two very very competent office holders. I'm not reassured that that will always be the case in this town. And it's my belief that some future board would need the tools as a town government to deal with an issue of somebody unqualified who just does not want to serve after being elected. And part of my feeling is I want the townspeople to be aware of this and potentially have a chance to vote on these articles.
Chris, comments?
Nope.
Gene?
I know that it wouldn't happen unless those were approved at town meeting. I do feel that the people should have a chance to select who's in those positions. And even if there were issues down the road, I think there are ways to deal with it and maybe change things if it became a problem in the future. I know you talked a lot about planning for succession. I don't see the difference between having those people appointed or elected as solving that problem, because in my mind the problem is that the assistants have been cut down to 20 hours a week, and it's hard to find people to fill those positions because a young person usually can't survive on working 20 hours a week. And what you ideally want is a young person to come in and learn and be able to progress up. So that, to me, that's a stumbling block that's there, whether the person is, whether the office is elected or appointed. So the succession issue, I'm not getting why appointing is gonna help that.
I'll explain.
Alrighty.
Anything else? Do you have anything else?
No, that's.
Okay. So I'll answer your first question just because it's top of mind in my head. And with the ability to have an appointment versus an election for either positions allows the ability to growth within the office. So if, Michelle as the town administrator or Jeremiah as one of our previous auditors had the desire to become the town clerk or had desire to become the town treasurer, they're already within the office. They already know the position somewhat because they deal with them in different functions within our own jobs. So that allows us as a select board to take someone that has office experience already in our building, or even an assistant that has had experience within our building, and be able to build them up to be able to move on or move up within our office or change positions. If you, as a library director who's in the office on a regular basis, at some future point the library gets cut to $30,000 a year, you are no longer the library director because you can't live on being a 10-hour-a-week library director, so you have aspirations of being the town clerk. Obviously, you have experience on the select board, you have experience of dealing with these folks and, looking at the bills and all that kind of thing. And so you're able to throw your hat in the ring and be that much further ahead and that much more advanced than possibly someone that gets elected that has no ability to do this job whatsoever. So it allows for advancement within. That's a lot of it. So the other piece to it too, and I like what you said, that well, I did and I didn't like what you said.
I know.
That, you know, there's ways to deal with it once we have a problem. And I find that a very dangerous tightrope to walk. I did a little bit of research, as I said at the last meeting, and here's a stack of just a few of the articles that I found locally and across the country of elected officials that had to be booted, that cost the towns that they work for anywhere between $300,000 and $600,000 due to either their incompetence at their job because they were elected into a position that they didn't have a clue what they were doing. So it cost their town a significant amount of money. The one in here is from a small town in New York, and the town ended up having to take out a $600,000 loan to fix the mistakes of their town treasurer because that person just didn't know what they were doing. Didn't know how to manage finances, didn't know how to do anything that's required of the job. They were just well liked in town and got voted in. So there's one of my major concerns is that we don't give the tools to our town and to future select boards to be able to prevent something like this from happening. And it's just become a bigger and bigger problem. Obviously Putney had a significant issue, and we heard from a few people that if you're an elected official, you probably really want to do the job and you want to do something good for the town, and that's why you ran for election. But I have a stack of 12 elected officials that some of them had good intentions, they just didn't have the availability, the knowledge to do the job, and some of them had no intentions of doing the job at all and just simply walked away, leaving all these towns in a lurch to hire someone else while they're still paying the person that is not working or doesn't have the skill set to work in those particular positions. So I agree with Jeff that this is a very important discussion, and I believe it's the best thing for the Vernon voters to be able to have a say in it, because most residents probably don't know this problem even exists in the world outside of what they heard from Putney in whatever year it was. It was just recently
Right.
that they had this problem. So, and Putney immediately went to appointed town clerk and treasurer.
Right.
Immediately. Because they don't want to have this problem again, and if they, had the forethought to prevent this problem, I'm sure they would have. And it's that particular situation has opened the eyes to several different towns to say, we really need to seriously look at this. And it's not because of the current folks that we have in office that we need to look at this. It's because of the future of what can come up. It's an insurance policy is really what it is.
Don't use that word.
It really is. It's an awful word, and I hate insurance just like everybody else does. It's something that you pay for and you hope that you never have to use. But I believe that's, kind of what this is to ensure that we don't have to, pull a $600,000 loan because of somebody's incompetence. So we don't have, another one that I have in here is town treasurer I think it was town clerk. I'll have to read the article again. But he was just being very belligerent to the other members in the office. Nothing his select board or his council could do about it. He was just a jerk, which had caused his assistant and caused other members of the office to not come into the work either, because they just didn't want to deal with the guy. And, well, we're elected officials, so we don't really have to go and deal with this guy. To the point where they had to have an election to have him removed, which is obviously a big process and opens you up to being sued because you have a sexual harassment case or harassment case or whatever it could be with this elected official that it takes time to remove people. It takes a lot of time to remove people.
Well, I
So-
guess too, historically, the select boards haven't done well with removing town employees. And some of those situations have also cost the town a lot of money.
Mhm.
So, you know, I see that also, even though you think this is an easy out for us, it hasn't proved well for the town in the past. It's been costly, very costly.
It definitely has to be done correctly.
Well, I'm sure at the time they thought they were, and guess what? It didn't work out that way.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, we've had problems with elected officials very recently in the town of Vernon as well. Very recently, of, you know, suits for defamation of character and various other things that the select board had no control over. We had to reprint a town report that cost the taxpayers thousands of dollars because an elected official put basically whatever they wanted to within the town report. So there's,
She was appointed.
She was appointed.
she was the assistant.
She was appointed at the time.
Yeah, but she was the assistant to the elected official and then appointed. So she wasn't there. It wouldn't have happened one way or the other. So, but
And I know we got this list in our packet of,
yeah, you got a list in your packet of the cities that, or excuse me, cities and towns.
towns that are
That have-
appointing,
Yep.
and that's, you know, that's out of 255
It's not all of them.
municipalities.
That's not all of them. I didn't call every town.
Oh,
So, you know, that's only the ones that either responded to a survey from the state's attorneys or responded to surveys from VLCT.
Okay.
It's not an exhaustive list, so please don't. I didn't spend hours and hours on it.
Oh, I just thought you got this as statistics from the
No,
state or whatever.
Even the state couldn't just give me a number. It would
Okay.
take kind of calling every municipality. I kind of took
Okay.
the information where I could get it.
Yep. So, and as you look at that list, there's many towns right around here that have moved to this. And some of them it's just town clerk, some of them it's just town treasurer, some of them it's both. And I'm sure they all have their different reasons for that. Which actually I was kind of surprised that, you know, through the little bit of resource that we had to pull these, that the town clerk list was that much longer than the town treasurer list, because in my opinion,
Be
the
almost scared
town
about the treasurer.
treasurer's dealing with a lot of money. And that would be the,
Well, I think that was taken from the state's attorney's office, and it was just a survey of town clerks.
Yeah.
So they didn't get information on treasurers.
yep. So, this is not an exhaustive list, but in a very short amount of time, we were able to come up with several towns, as you can see, that are moving to this.
Guess, Gene, your point about prior legal difficulties and lawsuits is well taken. Things probably might have been done differently. I feel as a current select board member that I don't really have the position to second guess any of those decisions in the past by those select
Right.
boards.
Right.
We weren't there.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Right, right, and I'm not so sure that past occurrences should automatically determine what future plans we need to look at, that's all.
True, but, you know, I'm sure they were seeking legal counsel, and it's still,
Well, Vernon's used a lot of legal counsel in the years, there's no doubt.
Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding these two articles? Okay. Yep.
Do you have the list of the towns for the people to see?
Sure. I will give you my copy.
How many towns? What's the count?
Again, this isn't a complete list, this is a partial list, but it's pretty substantial.
Oh, where'd my list go? There it is.
Here.
Here you go.
As Josh said, there's quite a few of them around here. There's Putney, Jamaica, Springfield, Weathersfield, Ludlow.
Whitingham.
Brana, in the state of Vermont, again, this is not a complete sample. 20 municipalities, town clerks can be appointed. There's 11 municipalities, including Brattleboro, where both the town clerk and the treasurer can be appointed. And then there's 11 towns where, there's 7 towns where just the treasurer can be appointed. So, what?
Do you know of ones that have recently changed from elected to appointed?
Putney.
Not counting Putney, because that's a different, don't put them in the same cup of tea there. Ones that have recently changed and why they've changed. Just out of
I'd
curiosity.
have to make phone calls.
Yeah, it would be a call to every town in Vermont to find out why they changed.
I mean, just out
But-
of curiosity as to why they changed, not counting Putney.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but
There are circumstances
I gotta
why they
believe
do
that these are probably
What's the
more.
protection against having inept select board versus having an inept treasurer or town clerk?
Well, that's a,
It's all by election.
right,
You have to prove your
Right.
worth one way or the other.
that's right.
And to come out and make some sort of a pronouncement to take the electoral process away seems to me to be usurping democracy. I don't think you're in the right realm.
But that wouldn't be, I mean, that goes to the town, wouldn't
That's
be
where
the
it
town's
should be, to
decision.
the town.
Well,
To you.
but that's
To move
the
to this.
point. The article itself doesn't, if we approve the article to go to town meeting, that doesn't change anything in anybody's world. It's when the town looks at it at town meeting and they either agree or disagree. So if they agree, they're letting themselves lose that ability to vote on that particular, on those particular positions. They're offering it up and saying, as a town, we feel that, the select board should be making this decision and have that, ability to, appoint.
So
It's,
what gives the select board the ability to determine the attributes of a town treasurer?
because we work with them all the time.
So that's somebody who's probably already acquainted with the job.
But it's
What
also,
what I'm saying, you're putting yourselves in a position of judgment, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think it should still be an elected office. And I think that person needs to prove themselves inept or qualified. If they're qualified, then they're probably running for office. If they're inept, I'm sure they're probably not gonna stick their head out in the chopping block. And how stupid would that be?
But it's
I
been
have
proven.
several different examples of people that have done that. That were inept and cost their towns hundreds of thousands of dollars due to their incompetence.
In the state of Vermont, not across the country.
Could you
How
put the
many?
microphone, 'cause nobody can hear you on BCTV,
Yep.
please.
Christina Walker, were they in the state of Vermont or across the country? Because you like to cite from outside of the state.
There's a handful of everything in here.
and I'm not sure Vermont is totally immune from,
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know why,
understand.
I don't know why
Situation
state
too.
lines mean anything when it comes to this.
I mean, I hope that as a state we're a little better than that, but we're not immune either.
Sue Arsenault, I think one problem is I'm hearing different things from different people here. You mentioned, qualifications of future people, and I agree, future select boards. What are their qualifications? You say, you work with the treasurer. Lots of people who get into the select board have no experience. So I don't think that that's a good way of doing this.
Well, hold on, if you wanna go point by point, let me do it with you. So there's two positions that change every year. So the majority of the select board has had some sort of experience at all times.
You mentioned a stack, and then you mentioned 12, and your stack of folks there. I would imagine that if we went back in the history of Vernon, we could find more than 12 people on the select board that have not been qualified and still been on the select board. You also mentioned most residents. Most residents do not attend town meetings, unfortunately. You know, I'm guessing right now we've got about 850 people that voted today. 850 people will not be at town meeting to make this decision. So I think you ought to think a little bit more, and if this is really the way you want to go, it should be on an Australian ballot so that most of the people really can vote for it. Because I've been to a lot of town meetings in 40 years, and I can tell you that come 10 o'clock at night, when this might come up, there may not only be 50 people in town. And that would be a sad thing for those who cannot attend or have had to leave early. This is a big thing for this town that you're talking about. And if this is your wish, you should have everybody in town have that opportunity. And you know, and if you don't, you should know, there's not gonna be most residents in this town at town meeting. You
That's
also
their
mentioned-
choice, unfortunately.
You also mentioned that we are moving to this. Some towns are moving to this. It doesn't mean that Vernon has to be one of those towns. And I really wish that if you were gonna bring this topic up again tonight, you would have had more accurate information on just how many towns in the state of Vermont have appointed town clerks or town treasurers. I know Tim goes every year for more training. You know, you're gonna appoint somebody, what training have they had? And I agree with, and I brought it up the last time that we talked about this, you know, those assistant positions that were cut in half, it's gonna be very difficult to bring people up in it. But that doesn't mean that the people that are holding these offices now aren't thinking about that.
And I don't disagree with you. We have the most staffed town office in the area. We can look at our compensation charts that we have that we do budgets with, and our treasurer and our town clerk both have more staffing than any comparable town population-wise.
Good for Vernon.
So I think we do very well with the amount of people that we have.
I'll sit for a minute.
You're welcome to.
With the appointment, that at least gives us the opportunity to interview and see what is there for qualifications, as opposed to your name is on a ballot and you win because everybody knows you.
And
Has that happened in your lifetime in Vernon?
So I'm not, I can see that this is important to you, as it
You
should be.
think?
So, and at the last meeting, we said that this was certainly nothing personal against Cindy or Tim. And we know how hard you guys work, and we appreciate what you guys do. But this isn't a decision that the select board can sit here and say, this is what's going to happen.
That's exactly right. The town makes the decision in the end.
But the town meeting is not gonna have most residents, so don't say most residents.
But if that's the case, then there would be no point in having anything at the town meeting if we were going to say that we're not going to discuss this because there isn't enough people here.
That you could say that with the police department, because that's been a big thing. You can say that with everything that we do. Because the majority of town folks aren't here, we shouldn't have a discussion about anything, ever. Everything should be Australian ballot. So that point just kind of falls on deaf ears to me, unfortunately. Because it's your choice to come to town meeting or not. It's your choice to decide whether something on the town meeting agenda is important enough for you to show up. If it's not, there's nothing we can do about it. That's why it's called democracy. People choose whether they want to come vote or not today. People choose whether they want to come to town meeting. In the end, the best that we can do is offer the ability to do all the above and give our residents the options to choose what they feel is best for the town. And that's the platform that they get. New England's actually fairly fortunate because it doesn't really happen anywhere else. Town meetings don't happen across the country where residents get to decide on budgets. It just doesn't. So we have more leverage as a community than anywhere else in the country in New England. And, you know, that can be good or bad. But everybody has the option to do what they feel is best.
I guess I agree with your statements as far as the select board and being qualified. You know, yeah, there's been a lot of unqualified select board members over the years. And my mind that I'm not highly qualified to sit here, but I don't see a whole lot of people running for select board. It's a part-time job. I don't believe any of us do it to get rich by any means. But yeah, frankly, we're fortunate if we do have majority of qualified select board members to make judgments for our town.
You have an advantage. You have an open mind. And that's a very, very good qualification.
Thank you.
That's the ability to listen and to ascertain what's being said and to come up with something that resembles a well-founded decision.
Thank you.
I commend you for that, all of you, for stepping in and even doing this. But the past history has shown that by having the officials elected, there is a true separation between those offices and the select board. And I, for one, personally would like to see that remain. I don't want to see the town clerk or the town treasurer subjected to whatever the whim of the select board is at that particular moment. And I think that balance needs to be maintained. And if you wind up in the appointed situation, then you obviously have a subservient role to the select board. And that to me is not in the best interest of the town.
I guess my question to you as a resident, because I don't see the difference. What would be the difference between that and David Walker's position as the highway supervisor? Because he is directly responsible to us as the select board, and so is Seth Dio as the rec director. You know, there's a handful of people. So is Michelle. She's responsible to the select board. We have several town employees that are directly responsible to the select board. And I don't think, well, I could be wrong, but in my short history of being here for 10 or 12 years, however long I've lived in Vernon, I don't think that Dave's experienced the select board telling him who needs to be in a truck on what day and how to pave a road or, you know, anything like that. So I don't think that, you know, this role would change any in that. I don't think that the select board would go in and tell you what stamp to use on a spreadsheet or how to formulate a spreadsheet or anything like that in the town clerk's office. I don't think that would be, it doesn't happen with any other office. So I understand your concern, and I understand, you know, what you're saying as far as separation, but it doesn't happen with any other town employees, or hasn't in my history. Maybe Dave could correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody's ever told him that he had to be in a plow truck at 3 o'clock in the morning, and so did Stanley, and no one else was allowed to be. That's very possible, but not in my general knowledge thus
Christina
far.
Walker again.
Yep.
As a kid, people would call our house and scream and swear at us about our father not being at work when he was at work. People would knock on our door at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But
Are
that has
you-
nothing to do with.
People
does-
in this town are rude.
That doesn't have anything to do with the select board, Christina. It's
I just
it's
wanted you to know that
residents.
people do that.
Oh, I very well understand that. I'm not well loved by everyone in town either. So, and that's fine. You know, as an elected official, as you know, a public, you know, figure in town, as the highway supervisor, that's what we deal with. That's what our delinquent tax collector deals with. We're in the public eye all the time. That's what our town clerk and our town treasurer deal with.
Yes.
That they're always in the public eye, and every mistake that gets made is public.
Yes.
So, you know, that's what you take when you take on these positions. And, you know, the select board role itself, obviously, as Jeff said, none of us are here to get rich, because we don't get paid hardly anything to do this. We want to do what's best for the town. We're not a, you know, 40-hour-a-week position. We may work 40 hours a week for the town at some points, but we don't get paid that way. So, you know, it's not, I knew when I, you know, first started thinking about this, and I had some conversations with different towns at a VLCT conference about, you know, how they made the transitions and, you know, what the feelings in town was, that it wasn't going to be a, you know, a terribly popular thing to even bring to town meeting. But to Jeff's point, I think it's something that we need to offer up to the residents, all residents, so they have the knowledge of what has happened elsewhere, what could happen in the future with Vernon, and let them make the decision. If they want to remove their right to elect the official, that's their choice.
Sue Arsenault again. So are you gonna be able to answer lots of questions from people in town? Are you gonna have statistics? Are you gonna have answers so that they can make an informed decision?
I'm sure I will not have every answer that they're looking for. If this does go to an article, because I think that's impossible. I don't think anybody can do that with anything.
I have a question.
Okay.
When people are elected for town treasurer and town clerk,
Mhm.
do they have to be Vernon residents to be elected?
Depends on which position.
Town clerk in the town of Vernon, do they have to be a Vernon resident?
Yes.
Yes.
Town treasurer in the town of Vernon, do they have to be a Vernon resident?
Yes.
Do the people that you may appoint have to be a Vernon resident?
No.
No.
They don't.
So I wanna make sure that the townspeople who may vote for that need to know that it doesn't necessarily have to be a Vernon resident.
You're correct. 100%. That's the point of appointing, is to find the most qualified individual.
That was my question. Who's to make the determination that they're qualified to make the determination that they're actually qualified to do the job?
That would be the,
As the select board, you know, you don't necessarily have that ability.
So-
I'm putting it safely on the voters, not on your back.
So as the select board, you will, if this were to be approved,
Mhm.
you would hire this person,
Correct.
and you would then supervise this person. They would come under you. They would come under the select board.
The majority of the supervision, as it is with all town employees, would be under Michelle. But yes, we would be the end all say all, just like we are with everybody else. I don't know how to put it other than it brings those two positions in line with every other management position in Vernon. It brings in line with Dave. Dave would have the same, you know, line of communication to us as the town clerk or the town treasurer, or Seth Dio or anybody else.
So out of curiosity, I looked up 17 VSA earlier, just to see what it
Mhm.
said. And in there it said that whether appointed or elected, you had to go by what your town charter said.
Mm-hmm.
So what does ours say?
We don't have a charter.
We're not chartered.
We're not
The sign says when we come into town, that
Yeah.
we're chartered.
We're not a chartered town.
Not chartered.
I didn't build the sign, unfortunately.
It's a charter from like the king that they're talking about in the sign. It's the land, that was a land charter. We're not a charter, we do not have a charter in Vernon.
So we
I asked the same
have no guideline for that particular statute from a charter.
I would like to say too that I do not consider the treasurer and the town clerk on the same level as department heads at all.
Currently,
They're-
they're not, absolutely not.
And even if everybody is hired, I still don't feel they're on that same plane. Their responsibility is way over what department heads' responsibilities are. They are actually, the treasurer is actually handling the money. You know, the clerk has got numerous things that they have to be handling too. I just don't at all
I don't
see
know,
them
the
on
guy that
same
plows my
level.
roads and puts salt on the roads so I don't kill myself on the way to work is pretty important to me too.
Well, I say they're important, but I think the responsibility of what's going on there is on different levels.
Hi, Kevin Turnley. I've got like 3 questions.
Sure.
Or 3 statements. First of all, earlier you referred to Jeremiah's son as an auditor, and he's a lister, so there's
Sorry.
big difference there.
Yep.
Um,
Go ahead,
And-
pick through everything you want. I'm still gonna,
That's, you know.
I'll still get my
that's-
point across.
That's knowing your people.
yeah.
And when you made reference to what a lot of the other towns are doing,
Mhm.
2 things on that. First of all, Vernon is Vernon. We're very unique.
That's what
We
Putney
have our
thought
own
too.
things. When we talk about budgets, some of the select board members in the past, well, at my business, we do this. Or, well, when I work here, we do this. There's a totally different thing, okay? Business versus Vernon. Vernon's unique, Vernon's different from Dummerston, Putney, all these other towns. Vernon's unique. So I wish you would get away from well, other towns do this, you do it with the police department, with the sheriff's contract. Well, other towns only have this many hours, so this is what Vernon needs. No, Vernon's unique. We've still got a lot of things going on here that, as far as law enforcement goes, and I'll be upfront, I'm with the sheriff's department.
I'm well aware
But I'm
of that.
speaking as a private citizen. You know, Vernon's unique, they've still got a lot of things going on. We've still got nuclear waste over here that, you know, that could be a potential hazard. Another thing that I was curious about is, and I've thought about it over the last few weeks.
So let me answer that point, because if we're gonna do point for point, let me answer your second point. The town made the decision about the sheriff's department. It wasn't the select board. The select board put forth a recommendation, and the town at town meeting made the changes to the sheriff's department. So
That's
just
correct.
clarify that.
Yes, that's correct. But when select board members sit up there and say, I feel that this is what we need, we should have this, we need to cut back on this, the townspeople are kind of, you know, well, you know, maybe, maybe not. They're more cued in on what the select board is saying versus what some of the other people are saying. So I think a little bit of caution there.
Yeah, as they should be. I think residents, and maybe this is pompous of me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, because this is how I feel, and you know me, I say what I feel. The select board are the ones that deal with a town all year long, that see all the budgets. So I think it is very right for a resident to put more weight into what a select board member says, or to pay extra attention to it, because we're the people that you've elected to do the best that we can for the town, to make the best decisions that we can for the town, to bring it to them at town meeting and have them make their decisions from there. based on, our knowledge as select board members, and then based on, the residents around them, their knowledge and what they feel about the particular problem too. Because we all live here. We all understand the things that are going on in town in some respects. Some of us are more involved in town than others, but that's the diversity of town meeting. So I think it's very right as a resident to pay particular attention to any select board member. I don't care who it is. I know I'm boisterous and I know I'm loud when I speak, and I know I'm very passionate about certain things, and I'm passionate about my town and doing what's right for my town. And if that sways people in the audience, there's nothing I can do about that. If I want to sit up there and be all meek and meager and say, well, this is how I feel about this, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. When I feel that something happens, because you're pointing at me, your whole conversation, all your points have been pointing at me and things that I've done wrong or you feel that I do wrong, which I disagree with you wholeheartedly on all the above. But that's what's going to happen. What people choose is what they choose. JJ gave a passionate speech about the sheriff's department last year. I gave a passionate speech about the sheriff's department last year. I'm a resident too. I'm not just a select board member. So I feel that I have just as much right as anybody else to be passionate as a resident.
Your comment about Vernon is different and unique. That's great. But when we look at other towns around us that have dealt with this, why should we sit by and wait for that to happen here? It's no different than anything else that changes in the world, in the country. When something bad happens, change comes from that. So you can't say that Vermont is unique or Vernon is unique, and we don't have to look at what's going on around us, and we shouldn't make changes because we're different. We have to make changes when things are going on around us that would potentially affect our taxpayers. That would affect you, that would affect me, that would affect everybody in this room, everybody at town meeting. So it wouldn't make any sense for us to not visit these ideas when we're seeing it going on around us. Vernon is unique, but we're not immune from any of those things happening here.
If we saw a massive, crime increase, if we saw that as a community, if we saw that as a select board, there would be a change in the sheriff's coverage. Those are the things around us. If we saw that in other towns, if we heard that, Guilford and Putney and all the towns surrounding us are having a ridiculous opioid epidemic like you read about, that would make us more cautious as a select board. In my opinion, it would be me. I can't speak for the other select board members. And possibly, look at increasing our law enforcement. Those are the things that we have to do, is we have to look at our neighboring communities and look at what challenges that they're facing, because eventually, as a municipality, as everybody wants to point out that, we're a municipality and not a private company, eventually, probably what's happening to those municipalities around us is going to hit Vernon at some point. It's just kind of the way of the world, that we're going to eventually run into the same problems at some point, being in a small, tight-knit community in Windham County, Vermont. So that's why we look at surrounding towns. I think it's important. I think it's very important data for us to look at what other people are doing. And we don't have to model ourselves after them, because we don't, obviously. We still have one of the largest contracts that the Windham County Sheriff's Department holds in Windham County. Should we or could we be around $20,000-$30,000 a year on that particular contract and come more in line with the towns that are around us? We probably could. Is the select board looking to do that? I don't think so, based on this first round of budgets. That we are looking to model ourselves exactly after surrounding towns, but we did want to bring ourselves more in line over the last couple of years, which is what we've done. By no means are we like any other town in any way, shape, or form. I mentioned earlier that our town clerk's office and our town treasurer's office has more hours than any other surrounding towns that have a similar population. Now, I can't speak to what their budget size or anything like that is right off the top of my head, because I know that eventually will be brought up too. But the population of, these particular towns, we still have the best of everything in Vernon, in my opinion. And we've slowly brought ourselves more in line with other towns, but no way are we near other towns in Vernon, in southern Vermont. If we were, all of our taxes would be a lot lower.
Then my last point is, the meeting 3 weeks ago, you said that you had met with Tim in the town clerk's office and
Yep.
talked to him about, what was transpiring, what was gonna happen.
Yep.
Why didn't you meet with the treasurer?
She wasn't in the office at the time, and my meeting with Tim was impromptu.
The treasurer's office opens at 6 in the morning.
Yep.
And generally open till 4.
Yep.
With certain exceptions of, whatever, doctor's appointments or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So you live south of here, and 4 mornings a week, you couldn't swing by here and meet with the treasurer? Or when you come in to have your meetings with the town administrator?
I didn't have an appointment with Tim.
Yeah, but still.
He happened to be in the office right after Michelle had spoken with him, and I had stopped in, so I had a conversation with Tim. If I hadn't stopped in and Tim hadn't have been standing there, I wouldn't have had the conversation with Tim either.
Yeah.
Because Michelle had already done it.
Yeah, but you did. You gave the courtesy of going up and talking to him about what was gonna transpire, because this is an important thing.
And he actually
to
came
both
to me,
parties.
actually.
Yeah,
So
this is an important thing to both parties.
I understand that.
So you took time out to speak to the town clerk, but 4 days a week you drive by the building and you couldn't stop. The days when you come in to meet with the town administrator down here, you couldn't go upstairs and say, hey, Cindy, I just want to talk to you for a minute. You made time to speak with one party, but you can't take 10 or 15 minutes to go into the town treasurer's office, which is just down the hallway, and
So
speak to Cindy.
I'm going to reply 2 ways. One, I never set an appointment with him. If he hadn't have been standing there when I walked through the door, the conversation never would have happened. Ever. 2, I am one of 5 select board members on this board. I happen to be the chair. What does the chair mean? It means I do this. Agenda. That's it. There is no other power that I have outside of this agenda. So I'm not sure why you're personally attacking me, but, and sorry, Gene,
Yeah.
why couldn't another select board member do it? Why did it have to be me?
Because you were the one that spoke with another town officer. So.
I'm not
again,
sure what it would have mattered at the end of the day, one way or the other.
It doesn't.
This is not, but hold on, Kevin, this is not a decision that the select board gets to make solely by a vote here between 5 of us. The only thing this is putting something on the agenda at town meeting. So I'm not sure why everybody is so, tempers are flaring, everybody's pointing fingers. This is no different than any other article that will be presented at town meeting.
To back up just a little bit.
I'm sorry?
You're making us feel threatened.
Yeah, to back up just a little bit.
I have done nothing but sit
Not
here.
you
Okay,
personally.
but
The process.
The process is making us feel threatened. We feel like our jobs are being threatened. And it's very scary for us to sit here and worry, or in March, am I gonna have a job the next day? Tim worry, in March, am I gonna have a job the next day?
how
You
is that
don't-
any different
you
from an
don't-
election year?
Well, you know what's gonna happen in election year. Right now, I have one more year before I have to run. Tim has to run this year. Okay, so if this goes through in an article, for all I know, I could come in after the article is passed and you could tell me my job is done. Tim has to run, even though he might not have to run because we have to wait for the article, so he has to go through the process of running. Okay, so if it goes through, then he wasted his time doing that, but if he doesn't do it and it doesn't go through, then he's not gonna get elected because he didn't run. So see, you don't understand that we feel our jobs are being threatened, and that's a big deal to us.
I actually do understand that, and I think everybody on the select board understands that very well. That, one, I don't think anybody here has said anything but positive regarding you and Tim, ever, in this, when we've had these discussions. I don't think that we've ever said that, you know, this is a way to get rid of Tim, or this is a way to get rid of Cindy, or this is a way to get rid of anybody.
You'd be stupid enough to sit there and say that.
Well,
I mean, I'd be pretty stupid on your part to sit and say that.
well, I pretty much say what I think all the time, don't I? So if I really felt that way, I probably would say it, but I don't feel that way. I've been very upfront, and everybody else has been very upfront, saying that this doesn't have anything to do with the current elected
But do you
officials.
understand what we're saying?
I absolutely understand
You don't
it.
understand that we feel threatened.
I
All
do.
of a sudden this comes up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what's going on?
I do
Why
under-
is this happening?
Yes, I do understand that,
So you
and
wanna know why emotions are running high, that's why they're running high.
oh, I didn't have that question. He did. I know exactly.
I'm
What,
not aiming like,
yeah, I know. I know exactly.
that's why they're running high.
Yeah,
And I can respectfully understand that, but again, we've sat here and done nothing but say how much we appreciate what you and Tim do. So that,
Doesn't change, that their jobs may be over the next day.
It's a scary thing. Kevin already had his job taken away, and we had to go through
Twice.
that twice. And we had to go through that, and now I have to sit and wonder if I'm gonna have a job. And you don't understand, it's a scary thing for our offices. And I wished you could just think for a minute, I'm not trying to say you have to change your minds, but just think for a minute how you would feel in the same situation.
I've been in the same
Anyone.
situation.
And how
I'm
did
very
you
well
feel,
aware of
Josh?
it. It's
It
not a good
sucks,
feeling,
doesn't
Cindy.
it?
Cindy, it's not a good feeling,
No, it's
and I
not.
understand that very, very
So
well.
that's why emotions are running high.
And I
think
understand
you
that.
can see that this board has been fairly torn on this. We haven't even, the five of us have not agreed on this yet.
Either way.
So, I mean, again, this isn't a decision that we get to make. This is an idea that's thrown out there, and I understand what you're saying. I really do. And I don't want you to think that we're up here being insensitive, but we were put here to make decisions based on what's best for the town. And this is an idea to present to the town, and that is all. But that decision hasn't been made, not by the five of us, not, none of us have agreed on this.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter when we do agree on it, one way or the other, it still has to go to town meeting. So,
Just to finish up here, on my last comment, what I'm talking is common courtesy. I mean, something this important, and any member of the select board goes in and multiple offices are involved with this, something this important, and you talk to one person, and then, okay, that's it, you know, out the door, don't have to, whatever. Common courtesy, you know, trust, after working around here for 20 years, you know, things that affect the employees, and you talk to a couple of employees over here, and you kind of leave the rest of them out in a lurch, you know, in left field somewhere. Common courtesy, come on, if you're gonna talk to an employee about something this important, talk to everybody. I don't care if it's you, anybody. If you're gonna come up with something this important, common decency would tell you, let's talk to the two parties concerned. It's like my little thing with the,
And our town administrator did that.
with our, did she talk to you?
He called me on the phone.
Oh. When, you know, the maintenance foreman thing, all of a sudden getting called in shortly before Christmas. Hey, by the way, you know, we're gonna outsource your job. You know, and when I asked, it sounds like a done deal. All I got was, yeah, pretty much. Never heard anything about it. Never was called in to discuss it until after, you know, after it was done. But come on, common courtesy. Somebody talk to the people involved with it. Talk to your employees. You know,
Run
talk
for
to-
select board.
Talk to your elected
Please.
He
officials.
can't run for select board because he's married to me.
Well, your point is well taken, and I'll tell you that I knew nothing about these articles until my agenda was handed to me. So you people probably knew about it before I did.
Yeah, and something's wrong there with that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absurd.
Well, I confess I haven't talked to either the town treasurer or the town clerk. So I apologize for that.
Is this something that can be brought up for discussion as just a discussion item at town meeting without voting on anything, to see what a consensus is, see what the feeling is? And then maybe next year have it as a vote? Is that? I'm just throwing out.
Would that come at the end, like under other issues
It
or
would come out
Other
of business,
businesses
yeah.
or other business perhaps?
That, I think that'd be the only place it would fit, is other business at the end.
I have a suggestion.
Just a,
I'm Jeff Durborough, I'm sorry I'm not up at the microphone. I can appreciate your concerns on both sides of this question. And I think it would be a very good discussion to have at town meeting. And I think it would be very good if there were two people who could present either side without favoritism or bias, so that this just lays out facts. And then people can make up their own mind then, based on what the factual situations are. And I think it would be a very good discussion. I, for one, prefer the elected offices, obviously, I've said that.
Sure.
But I could also see the merit to what you're talking about with appointment. But I'm just not sure where the qualifiers are to make those appointments.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I very much like that idea of starting with a discussion, because this is a major change. I've gone to town meeting for many years, and you're kind of at the whim of who can last the longest. May not be the real sentiment of the town, but man, you stuck it out, so.
Whoever calls the question.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff goes on.
Yeah.
So, that's a great idea. I really like the idea of just introducing a discussion. I think it will give people maybe more time to do their homework and their research and really think about it more and decide if that's really what they want this town to do, instead of sitting there that night and basically having it put at you for a hard and fast decision. So I would support a discussion, because I think you know I'm not gonna support putting these articles in. But
especially such an emotional issue.
discussion, I
It's
think,
not
is a
just
great start.
Black and white thing.
Right. And based on that discussion and what we hear, we should take that as our lead in what to do the following year.
And it would be
With
true
the new
select
democracy
board.
in action. It would be true democracy in
Right.
action.
I mean, we don't have a problem. It's not like we're in some emergent situation that we have to fix this, so
Yep, I agree.
I think that we can take our time and allow this process to play out a little more fairly.
All right, I mean, to me, unless somebody else has any more comments, again, we stated before we started, our town clerk and one of our select board members not here, I move to table this discussion until a December meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded to table further discussion on the two articles. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, public participation in agenda items only. Seeing none, correspondence and town admin report, please.
Okay, first of all, you have all the correspondence in your packets. I wanted to give a big thank you to Jean Carr for figuring out how to fix the parking lot lights.
And I readjusted them last night because it black out there.
Oh yeah, you got the hour back.
And I also want to thank our recreation department for helping the town clerk get ready for election day today. That was a huge help. And a bit of good news, we have not received any petitions to overturn the noise ordinance. So it is now officially part of town policy.
Oh, boy.
We have a quasi noise ordinance. Great.
That's it.
Okay. Upcoming meetings, public hearing for proposed town plan is tomorrow, 6 o'clock here. Our budget meeting is following at 7 o'clock here tomorrow as well. Next regular select board meeting is the 20th. Next select board budget meeting is the 21st. And we have a hazard mitigation planning meeting on November 27th. Look forward to seeing you all there.